Slack and you Major welcome you to the My Type of Hype podcast, where we celebrate hip-hop, not just the hype.
How y'all feel out there?
Oh, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again to the My Type of Hype podcast with me, your boy Slack in the building. As always, and my co-host extraordinaire on my left. What's happening, bro?
We're here, man. Very good. My Type of Hype, the podcast that celebrates hip-hop and not just the hype. Slack, we saying, man? How's your day been?
Yeah, beautiful day today, man. I'll say my little boy, my eldest boy went and bought his electric car that he's been banging on about women for how long. So I went with him to go get out and pick it up. So I can't believe my little boy is a man buying his own electric cars and all them things there, man. Crazy how time flies, bro.
Trust me, before you know it, man. That's good. I'm glad, man. I'm glad. It's exciting. It's all about the kids, man. The future.
100%. 100%. So what we got going on this week?
Yeah, we're here, man. So the year is 2023, man. So we know 30 years ago now would have been 1993. Any hip hop head knows that. I know it's crazy, isn't it? 30 years, you know. Any hip hop head knows that was a beautiful year for hip hop, man. So we just thought we'd highlight a few albums that we love and just talk about them. No real structure, just talk about these albums, man. It's like we were just heads talking together, man. So today we thought we would celebrate, big up, present flowers to, talk about the 1993 classic from Black Moon, Enta Da Stage. So we want to talk about that one today, man. So how you feeling about that album, bro? Any random thing, anything? How you feeling about it?
You know what? I remember this album vividly because one of my friends in school, he was heavy on Black Moon and he had heard it before I had heard it. So he was always like quoting lines off it, and like when we had a little crew, like we do our freestyles and stuff like that. And he was always kind of imitating Buckshot, because Buckshot was kind of the man at that moment in time. Yeah. And he was always talking about his knapsack, and I was like, "What knapsack? Like, what are you talking about?" So he was always hard on Black Moon, and I remember when I first got it, because for some reason I don't know why, but that album was only available on import. Like you couldn't get it as just a regular walk into the shop buy the album. I paid a lot of money for that album in those times anyway. I think it cost me like 16 pounds or something at the time, which was
import price.
Expensive. It was an import. But when I first heard it, a few things struck me. So first was there was no intro. It's just straight into the music immediately. Like no messing about. Just all of the songs, just boom, boom, boom. 14 tracks. Just production was incredible from the Beat Miners. And then Buckshot was just going crazy over pretty much every track. It just sounded so dark, grimy. Just so around that time, I would have been in. So what? I was about 13. So I would have been in and around Brooklyn at that time, around the summertime. So I remember when I remember 93 well, because that's when the Gravediggers album was out. I had heard about the Gravediggers album. Wu-Tang was popping crazy, and then Black Moon. So they were kind of like my favorites. And then when I heard about the Boot Camp Click, I was like, that sounds way too close to Wu-Tang Clan. Like, what's going on? So there was that whole thing. But then when I heard it, I was like, okay. And then of course Buckshot was coming off the Crooklyn and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, man, I was heavy into Black Moon at the time. Like the beats and just everything about the album I just loved. And then of course the remixes that came out.
Yeah, hard.
So
definitely.
The remix to Got You Open, the remix to Buck 'Em Down. Buckshot had completely changed his style from the aggressive guy on the album, and the remixes were just so, he was more like melodic and
smooth, isn't it?
Laid back, and it was completely different, but it was fire. So that kept me listening to it even more. So when I think about it now, it came out in '93. I didn't probably stop listening to it until like, I still listen to it to this day. But I mean, at that time, that was probably in heavy rotation for 2 straight years, easy. And of course, it gave birth to Smith and Wesson, who were on the album. Gave birth to Helter Skelter, OGC, and everything else. You know what I mean? That you got from there, from the boot camp. Yeah, just an incredible album, and you'll be very hard pressed to find anyone who's into hardcore hip hop to say anything that's not positive about that album, because it ushered in that whole. It was just dirty. Like I can't describe it any other way. When I think of it, Enter the Stage, if someone said describe the album in one word, I'll be like dirty. And what I really loved as well, they did an anniversary of it. So there was a 3-disc project of Enter the Stage. So you had all the instrumentals, you had all the remixes. Did you get the tune Killing Every Insight? It's called Reality. Killing Every N-word in sight.
No.
You also heard that song.
Oh, I thought you said that I get the wording. Sorry, I thought it was no. Yeah. The track that was on the.
It's on the B. It was on the B side. It wasn't. Yeah, exactly. It wasn't on the album. Yeah. But I remember I bought that from Wood Green Market. So there was a guy who was selling. There was a guy who was selling mixtapes, and the first song on there was that Reality tune. And I remember I just got home and I played it, and I was like, "This is the dopest song I've ever heard in my life."
Yeah.
But it wasn't on the album, so it wasn't until like that 3-disc like anniversary album. It's got everything on there. So yeah, I'm really glad that they brought that out as well.
They did that kind of thing a lot, didn't they? Like that whole not Digging in the Crates. What was the project that they had a few years after the boot camp one? The Vault mixes, and they had all those kind of like unheard tracks.
Digging in the Vaults.
Yeah. That's it.
That's one of my favorite albums. Like, ever. I love that album. Love it.
Yeah, they have a lot of things like this. Like,
these didn't make the album. Like these are all hard.
Yeah. No, definitely.
No, what about you, man?
Classic album, man. I mean, unlike you, I didn't appreciate it until a little bit later. And it's funny because I was like thinking about the album. Obviously, you know, we're doing this and everything like that. And I remember reading an article and Buckshot speaking, saying that they couldn't even get a deal. Do you know what I'm saying? Black Moon. People was just saying they're too hardcore. He was saying even like his height, like people weren't taking him seriously because he's like proper short. You know what I mean? Yeah, shorty. And just little things like that. And it's just like, and I think that's, you know, that when the album starts with the powerful impact, and he's like, this is for all the ones who doubted us and fronted on us and all that. He's got to be referring to that. You know what I'm saying? And then he comes in with that track. And it's just hard, man. I think the album in itself, another reason why, you know, we wanted to really big it up as well today is because, like me, probably maybe a few people just, I don't know what it was, but I think because 93 was just so stacked, like, I didn't pay any attention to it in 93. Like, I really didn't. The thing that I loved, which to this day is still one of my favorite, like, singles, is Who Got the Props. I love that. I love that. Like it don't put a foot wrong. To
this day,
I love it.
It's crazy.
Incredible, man. He's got like, and it's long, like in the sense of like his verses. He's got like 4 verses on there. Like, do you know what I mean? Like it's just the video, the song, I love it. Like Who Got the Props, incredible, man. So it's funny. So that's the song I used to hear all the time in Ritz. Like used to love. Never went out and bought it with my own money or nothing like that. It was my big sister that I've mentioned that used to have it on cassette, and I used to always rinse it on video. Sorry, and I used to always pull it back, watch it, love the song. Didn't make a beeline for the album though, because this was like maybe 92. This probably dropped. You know what I'm saying? So obviously the album dropped, and I'm like, yeah, okay. I don't know why. Never made a beeline for it. Just kept rinsing Who Got the Props, right? And obviously you had different singles and thought, this album's going to be hard. Ended up listening to it and thinking, but bro, I ain't gonna lie, I've got to say this, man. As much as I love the album now, when I heard I Got You Open remix, I think that was the one that said to me, I need to grab this album or get my hands on it somehow. Then it weren't the one on the album. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, man, I like it now, but when you've heard that remix and you're living with that remix, and then you hear that, it can feel disappointing.
Bro, I totally agree, because that's happened to me a couple of times. Do you remember when the Brat brought out "Give It to You"?
Yeah,
and I was like, "This isn't the version that was on that album. This is way better."
Yeah, they do that so much. Man. They should do that so much, man, because remixes were important. Like, that didn't happen to us. Well, I can't say us, but that happened to me and most of the people I was with the Ready to Die, because we all grabbed that straight away. But One More Chance, I know a few heads got caught out like that as well. The One More Chance, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it serves its purpose, because if you weren't interested or going to buy the album before, then you hear a dope remix, you're now saying, I need to go and grab that. So obviously it serves its purpose.
Right.
But yeah, so like I said, bought it. And one thing that stood out to me a lot as well was that Who Got the Props? Nothing else sounds like that on the album.
No.
Like, nothing else. Like, that is bright. Like, everything else, like you said, is dirty, dark, dusty, and just that sound that we obviously put with Boot Camp now that we love. But when you've gone from Who Got the Props, and then it just sounded completely different. So if I'm really being honest, it took me a while to get into it. But then when I did, I'm like, yeah, this is something special, man. Do you know what I mean? And looking at it in hindsight as well, what it gave birth to, it needs to be one of the most important albums of its time. You see what I'm saying? Because Boot Camp is one of the dopest crews in hip hop. Like, I mean, you look at what it's gone on to do, the albums that's come from that lineage of Boot Camp and everything. Like, to know that this is, like, you know what I mean, the first thing, the genesis of it all. It's an important album, man. But I don't think that album's even gold. I know it's not about sales and all that, but it's interesting, because most of us would say this is a classic. I don't think the album is even gold to this day.
Yeah, but you got to think about it. When people talk about sales and stuff like that, and they compare artists like Aubrey, who sings, and if you think, if I was thinking about this the other day, because I was like, how many of his most popular songs are straight rap, like straight hardcore? Like, you've got that Call Me on My Cell Phone and all them kind of bullshit songs. Like, they're gonna sell way more than any like regular rap song, right? So if you think about it, an album like Enter the Stage, women ain't gonna go and flock to buy that album, are they? Realistically, the people that will have the album are hip hop nerds like we were or are, whatever.
Yeah, definitely.
And more time, I would have dubbed that for like 4 of my friends, so they wouldn't have to go out and buy it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So they're going to have it on cassette or whatever. So they've already got it. They ain't going to go. So I think with a lot of these albums where people are like, oh, I didn't go platinum with it. Like, you got to think about the demographic of who is actually buying music. And anyone, even Tupac said to Biggie, in order for you to sell records, you got to rap for the women. If you don't rap for the women, then you ain't going to sell nothing. So Biggie did Big Papa, and he did Hypnotize, and he did all the other shit, One More Chance, and all those kind of songs, where if he never had those songs, he might not have gone double platinum in 94. He might have only gone platinum, because if you don't appeal to a certain demographic who actually go out and buy music, it's going to be very difficult for you to sell your albums. And if you think Enter the Stage ain't got no real like melodic hooks and stuff like that, it's just beats and rhymes, and there's only a certain amount of people who are actually going to leave their house to go and buy that. So if it's not gold or whatever, that doesn't mean as much to me, because what matters to me is what was on the album, and what was so influential, and everyone wanted to rhyme like Buckshot. Even me, like, I had a tape of me and a couple of my friends like rhyming, and I definitely bit his flow from Crooklyn like 100%. Like, bit the shit out, because I was just mesmerized by the way he rapped on that song, because it was so different to the way that he rhymed on the album. So man, it was so, I loved it. So back then I definitely was trying to emulate like what he was doing. So influential, man. But yeah, when it comes to like sales of these type of albums, like hardcore, dusty, grimy, like, there's only going to be a certain people that's going to buy it, and it's going to be like young black dudes, like maybe like 18 to 24, that kind of age group, who are going to physically go out and support it and actually put down money to go and get it. So that doesn't
No, it's
surprise
brilliant.
me.
No, I mean, you're right. I think what surprised me though is because my thing was I was thinking about the album. I was thinking, as we always say, it's not about sales. We know that because you could be multi-platinum and the album's whack. It's just it sells. You know what I mean? Or you've got a big label organization behind you, whatever. And we understand. Like Nervous at the time was like house music. It weren't even like a recognized hip hop label. You know what I mean? It's like house and do you know what I mean? Music like that. So I get it. But I think when I was thinking about the album, I was thinking my thing was I wonder if this has gone platinum. Because I know what it is to the community, to the culture. I was thinking, I wonder if this album's actually reached platinum status here. So I was looking at it, and it was like something like 400,000 copies or whatever. I was like, that's not even gold. I'm thinking that's mad because it's a classic. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's just interesting. This is another conversation for another day, but it's proof again that sales don't mean anything, man, because it's like, you look at what this album is and what it means to the culture, and what it done. And Buckshot himself. I mean, obviously we know it's not. We know the 5 foot is Buckshot, Evil D. We know Beat Miners, everything like that. We understand it's not just Buckshot. But I mean, I just feel on a whole, just them in themselves need to be celebrated more. Like Black Moon. Do you know what I mean? This is the first album they dropped, and it's a classic. But Total Eclipse, Warzone, the stuff they've done after that, even the album they dropped in 2019, Rise of the Dark Moon or something like that. The name's gone from me now, but even that had a lot of heat on it, man. Incredible, man. It's funny when you're speaking about Buckshot and his rapping style, hearing how hyped he was and how he is on the album.
Yeah, exactly. And then he just completely went the other way.
When you listen to the open remix, it's like, have you ever tried rapping along to that? Like, not in your mind, like out. It's hard to rap like that, you know. Like it's like he's doing this sort of monotone, deep singing, rapping. Like it's mad, but it's so catchy. Like the song is just another 5 mic single for me. That remix, you know what I mean? It's just like
easy.
Perfect,
even the sample alone, the video. Just everything about it was perfect. And that the Penguins jersey that he had on in the video, I went straight out and bought that same shit, that Penguins jersey. Bro. I went straight out and got it. Because
that's actually mad.
Man. Mad. Like it was such a departure from the album itself. It was like, is this Buck? And then when he said himself, he was like, just forget the past, no more shorty, strictly Buckshot, runs out of 40. I was like, right, okay. So he's saying, forget that Buckshot that you heard before. This is the new shit now. And then he pretty much ran with it ever since then. I wonder what made him change, though.
I don't know, man. I think it's probably, I can only guess, but I think it might have a lot to do with what he was speaking about in just not being taken seriously, you know, trying to get a deal, people not taking him seriously. Obviously Nervous did, but I think he got turned down by a good 4 labels before.
Yeah, that's why they ended up at Nervous, I think, because I think I can't remember who they had a deal with, but that fell through. And then I think someone at Nervous was like, all right, we'll take a chance kind of thing. You know what it reminds me of?
Obviously.
Right, Drew Hart, yeah. Do you know what the movement it kind of reminds me of? Now tell me if you see the parallels between early BCC and Griselda at the time of hip hop. So for me, it would be, and I'm not saying they rap the same at all, but I'm saying the influence and the way that they came in, Buckshot would be like a West Side Gun, because he's kind of like the head of the guy who brought everyone else in. Then you've got Helter Skelter, so you got like Rock will be Conway, Sean Price will be Lenny. Very, very similar kind of movement, the way that it happened. So it was like Black Moon come out. Then was it Smith and Wesson next, or Helter? Smith and Wesson was next, I think. Then Helter Skelter, then OGC, and then the Beat Miners kind of just did everything for those first. That all of those debut albums were crazy, like they couldn't miss. And then I think the only time that there was a bit of a dip was For the People. Do you remember when that album came out?
Yeah, but let's be honest, bro. You're right. I agree with you, because the first time I heard it, I was a bit like, I don't know how I feel about this. I love it now, But the only reason why we probably say it was a bit of a dip is because they
There was
were
no
up
beat
there at that
bangers.
point. Like,
There was no
yeah,
beat
we wanted
bangers.
to. Yeah, of course. But I mean, that huge thing. But what I was gonna say is that I think we expected so much from that album because when you
Definitely.
think about everything that came before it,
Yep.
that should have been like a classic. Do you know what I mean?
Because it was almost
And
like they did in reverse what the Wu-Tang did. So the Wu-Tang came out with everybody
yeah,
on the first
yeah,
album, and then they broke off and did their own thing. Boot Camp did
yeah.
it in reverse. So they did all of the duo. So Black Moon, Helter Skelter,
Mhm.
OGC, and Smith and Wesson all dropped their
Yeah.
albums. Then they came together as the collective and did For the People.
Yeah,
So in a way, they built up momentum even more because we had already heard the
they were
debut
capable
albums
of.
from the
Yeah,
groups. Wu-Tang did it in a different way, but in a way that worked well too because we already knew what they were as a collective, and then they
yeah.
broke off, so that was easy to follow.
Mm.
But with Black Moon and the whole BCC, the expectation was crazy because Enter the Stage
They
classic,
were
The
classic
Shining
before.
classic,
Mm.
Nocturnal classic, The Storm, maybe not as classic as the rest, but I love that album. So the
I
expectation.
prefer Empire Strikes Back, to be honest.
I love Empire Strikes Back.
It's so hard, bro.
Yeah,
So hard.
I love that album, bro.
It's literally,
I
it's
love
so
that
hard.
album. So
Yeah.
Seeing that album advertised in the Source every friggin' month for the people, I was like, oh my god, this is going to be insane. You've got all of the BCC together on one album. This is going to end it. It's going to end everything. And then when it came out, and I was just like, what the fuck? What is going on? It was just, and it wasn't like it was whack. It was just, it wasn't what I was expecting. I don't think it was what anyone was expecting, from being honest.
Nah, it wasn't.
The single
was one of the best tracks, and you never want the single to be like one of the best tracks on the album.
That's true,
because you've had that, you spent time with it. So when you think about it, it can only, now this I was gonna say it can only get worse. That's harsh, but you know what I'm saying. If you've had the single and lived with the single, and then nothing else meets that, it's gonna come across as a disappointing album. Because to me, still the single is one of the best tracks on the album.
Yeah,
do you know what I'm saying?
It was just weird because I loved like Evil D, Mr. Walt, was it Baby Paul? Like, just their beats were just, no one else was doing what they was doing. Those bass lines were absolutely disgusting. So for them to not play a massive part on the collective album was, I just couldn't get my head around it. Couldn't understand it.
They done some though, didn't they? What did they do about like 2 or 3 songs? I remember it's only a tiny little bit of it, isn't it?
If that, and then I remember reading through the credits, like, who is that? Who's that? Doing the beats, and yeah, it's just weird. And because they come out the gate, just so crazy.
Yeah. See, that's a mad thing because that's what I mean. So when you think about it, for Enter the Stage to drop in '93, obviously the single, other little bits, but this is a whole new movement. Do you know what I'm saying? To come and have that production crew doing their thing on that. Only the team. There was no features on that album apart from
Smith and Wesson.
Who was going to
in-house.
Oh yeah, Havoc was on it. I'm sure who else was on it. I know Havoc was on the album. So they were features. So forget what I said, but you know what I'm saying. It weren't like no big because let's be honest.
It wasn't like you had KRS-One or whoever.
Yeah, exactly.
There
Which you could have had in '93.
Yeah, it was like Nas having AZ on his album, basically. You know what I mean?
Right.
That same kind of thing.
Yeah, because Havoc
was either you were family or it was someone you're like, I don't really know who that is, kind of thing.
Right. Exactly. And no outside production and all that stuff. So they just done their thing and they dropped a classic, man. That still stands. I mean, if you look at all of Boot Camp albums now, I know they weren't deemed as sort of like Boot Camp at that time, but if you're looking at all Boot Camp albums now, you're still going to put Enter the Stage in the top 5 of those releases. You know what I'm saying? So they done it, man. So let's think about songs on the albums then. What would you say is probably your 3 favorite songs off of Enter the Stage, if you had to pick?
That's pretty easy. Who Got the Props is my favorite song.
Same.
Maybe You the Man. I love that. Loved that when I was a kid. What would I say would be my third? That's hard because I literally run that album. There's only one song that I skip on that album. Can you guess what it is?
One song you skip.
Yeah.
Well, the one I skip on the album is the 5 foot solo one. What's the song called again? It's actually gone for me now.
Yeah.
Who you get wrecked? No, what's it? Let me look, man.
Not Make Money. Make Money.
Make Money is not the one I'm thinking of, but that's another one that I'm not like. That's not one of my favorites. That would
Make
be
Money and
one of my
Slave.
least favorite.
Make Money and Slave. They're the two that I'm not overly enthusiastic about.
Mind Slave, you know, I think that's the one that's like got no hook or nothing. It just, I don't know. It feels like I don't mind Slave.
It just didn't feel like it fit the rest of the album. Do you know what I'm saying?
I know what you mean.
I'll probably go with maybe Buck 'Em Down or How Many MCs. One of those two.
Okay, yeah. Hard. I mean, for me, I love Powerful Impact. I love the way that comes in. Starts the album off. Obviously, the Buster sample works. I love that as well. Who you got the props, obviously. So I'm gonna take that out because is my favorite by far. So not including that, I'm gonna say Powerful Impact. I like Blacksmith and Wesson as well. I like that one. Right. And I'll say I like all the singles as well. What's the other one I like? Yeah, I might go with You the Man as well. Might go with that one as well. So I do like that track.
The beat, the beat for me on You the Man. Love that beat, man.
Yeah, and they all go in on that one. You know what I mean? Which is good. It's good to hear. Obviously, we didn't, Havoc on that as well, and even Drew raps on that. Only he raps on that as well. G Hart.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. It's interesting, man. It's a good project, man. It's a good album, solid album. Definitely deserves being mentioned a lot. Do you know what I'm saying? It's done a lot for the culture and just brought so much.
I don't think it gets appreciated enough. I think with things like Enter the Wu-Tang and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
At that time, around literally 93, where you had Tribe coming out, you had Naughty by Nature.
Yeah, exactly.
You had all these groups at the same time who were dropping not just good albums, they were dropping like earthquake albums. So for Black Moon to come out with no major endorsements, they weren't part of like a Native Tongues or something like that. Do you know what I mean? So for them to kind of come out on their own, and as they said, like kind of be shunned by the labels and all of this, you ain't gonna sell no records, all that kind of stuff. And for them to just basically make whatever they wanted to make, like some real hard hip hop music, and for it to still be this good 30 years later, you can only commend it, man, for real. So yeah, man, big props to Black Moon, man, and everything that they brought to the game with them. So, Helter Skelter, Smith and Wesson, all of that, for them to have the careers that they did. R.I.P. Sean Price, like one of my favorite rappers of all time. We might not
100%.
have ever heard if it wasn't for Enter the Stage. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, man, just a massive album that I don't think gets the props. See what I did there? I don't think gets the props. I don't think it's the props that it should get because the album went triple platinum in my house.
100%, man. And it's like you said, it's one of those ones where we obviously appreciate it in time as growers, and in that time, all the dubbing and different things like that would probably make it not get to the status that we would imagine it would be at. But we know, man, amongst us and in the culture, triple platinum indeed, man. Do you know what I mean?
Easy.
It's respected and revered. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for real. And I think we're gonna have to do a couple more anniversaries this year because we had a hell of a lot of heat coming out in 93. I believe Midnight Marauders might come out around November time or something like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, Enter the Wu-Tang came out. 1993 came out. Doggy Style came out. Like, we were eating like gluttons in the early 90s. So yeah, I think we're gonna have to revisit, man, and do a couple more for sure.
Yeah, man. Let's do it. But yeah, we just thought we'd just have a little discussion and just celebrate Enter the Stage today, man. So yeah, man, throw your thoughts out, how you feel about the album, how you feel when you first heard it, when did you first get it? Like me, I jumped on it a little bit later. I was enjoying the single a lot. And I think there was just so much heat around that time, man. Just so much. Like,
And it
slip
wasn't as
through the
easy for us to just click on a phone and get a song.
and
Do
listen
you know what
to
I
that.
mean?
Yeah,
So yeah, for us to go out and get an album, so you're not always going to get to things as soon as they drop. I guess I was just
exactly.
lucky that I was able to do that because I know that everyone wasn't. So yeah, gotta appreciate that too, man. It was a completely different time for us to consume music.
Definitely. That £15, bro. Like sometimes I'll be there thinking, listen, which album am I buying? Do you know what I
Right,
mean? Like which
right,
album am I buying this week? Yeah, I ain't
right,
got the can't be, you know what I mean, streaming million songs. It's like which album am I buying? You know what I mean?
right.
All lunch money, pocket money, and all that. You're buying music, man. You're like, I can get probably 2 albums this week, man, and then it would burn if you weren't if you didn't enjoy them. You know what I'm saying? You're like, that's like my last whatever, but definitely, man, a classic, undeniable classic. Enter the Stage, the catalyst for so much that we appreciate in hip hop.
Absolutely.
And yeah, there was underground hip hop. You know, the same year, a few weeks ago, we had KRS One drop his solo debut. You know what I mean?
Boom bap.
Return of the Boom Bap.
Mm.
So we know there was that rugged sound, definitely, but nothing was really sounding like that boot camp sound. Nothing that Enter the Stage sound. You know what I mean? It
Still
was
doesn't.
underground,
Still doesn't.
hardcore.
Nobody's touched that since.
Agreed, man. They had a sound and a style that they were true to throughout the whole album.
Right.
Even though we said "You Got the Props" was bright and all these things, it's still they had that sound, that Black Moon sound that they haven't really swayed away from. Do you know what I
Mm.
mean? Like I said, if you listen to that one from 2019, it's undeniable Black Moon. Like it's
Yeah.
still got that sound. They're in a league of their own, definitely. So to come out with that, and you can almost say like it. I don't want to say brought it back because I don't believe it was dead, but you can almost say it was almost just like a resurgence of that underground sound. Like there was nothing on there that was chasing, that
Charts.
felt like it was chasing charts or chasing
Mm.
radio singles, like even the singles. You know what I mean? Yeah, there were remixes and all that, but even the remixes were dark.
Exactly.
Remixes were dark, man. So yeah, they were true to their sound and definitely need celebrating and bigging up. So Enter the Stage, man. 30 years old this
Crazy.
week.
So big up to
That-
Buckshot, big up to Evil D, big up to the Beat Miners, Mr. Walt, Baby Paul. Just yeah, big respect. 30 years definitely got to be celebrated. If you haven't heard the album, you should definitely go check it. And even if you have heard it many times, you should check it out again if you ain't listened to it in a hot minute, man. So yeah, give us an idea as well about any others that you might want us to revisit in the chat below, as always. And we'll be back with another one or another two, who knows? But yeah, another couple months left of 2023, so another couple definite massive albums to celebrate.
100%, man. So yeah, thank you again for just rocking with us as always, man. Hope you've been enjoying the episodes that we've been putting out to you. We've got some more interviews coming, some more exciting stuff that we're looking at. So yeah, man, just keep sharing, retweeting, tell someone about us, man. This is for you. We do it for the culture. We love having these discussions. And every time someone comes and says, you know what, learning something or enjoyed it, it means a lot to us, man, because we just love talking about this thing. So yeah, man, stick with us, man.
Yeah, man, totally agree, man. So catch you next week. Peace.
Until then, man, My Type of Hype, the podcast that celebrates hip hop and not just the hype. Stay blessed, keep it hype. We'll see you next week. Peace.